Hello everybody and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips. Partnerships between government agencies and industry are increasing, not decreasing. I previously reported on several of them. For example, billions of dollars of industry money flows to the FDA from the drug companies and to the CDC through the CDC Foundation. Well, I just found out something, actually quite by accident. The National Institutes of Health also has a private foundation, which was established by Congress in 1990. Congress, by the way, passed the law that allows the drug companies to fund the FDA. Congress passed the law that allows the CDC, that formed the CDC Foundation, which allows money to flow through the foundation to the CDC. So the bottom line is that we got to get all these people out of Congress who seem to think it's such a good idea for industry to be so intimately involved with our federal agencies. The Foundation for the National Institutes of Health raises money from the private sector and then designs and manages partnerships with public and private entities, and this is all done supposedly in the interest of public health. Well, the 2016 tax return for the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health, FNIH, shows that it took in $83,527,142. Now, this will not shock you. Much of that money came from drug companies. I managed to find the annual report online for the same year, and it lists the following companies as giving $2.5 million or more: AbbVie, Anheuser-Busch, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Carlsberg Breweries, Diageo plc, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Heineken, Eli Lilly, Merck, National Football League, Pernod Ricard, and Pfizer. Now, you might have noticed a lot of alcohol companies in there. Very soon I'm going to explain what that's all about. But 10 out of those 12 donors are 5 drug companies and 5 companies that make alcoholic beverages. The next tier down is $1 million to $2.5 million. And that consists of 16 donors, 10 of which are drug companies. So it will not surprise you to find out that the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, the NIAAA, one of the 27 centers under the NIH, is conducting a trial costing $100 million, which is designed to show that daily alcohol consumption promotes better health. NIH officials claim that the alcohol industry has had no input on study design or anything to do with this, but according to the New York Times, they are lying. This is not true. The Times obtained documents under the Freedom of Information Act and also managed to interview some former employees who were quite forthcoming about how this all happened. Well, the first thing is the NIH aggressively pursued funding from the alcohol industry and paid the travel expenses so that scientists, and we might use that term loosely here, could meet with industry executives. NIH researchers made presentations during which they stated that a study funded by the alcoholic beverage manufacturers would find that moderate daily drinking promoted better health. One slide stated, and I'm going to read this quote to you: "A definitive clinical trial represents a unique opportunity to show that moderate alcohol consumption is safe and lowers the risk of common diseases. That level of evidence is necessary if alcohol is to be recommended as part of a healthy diet." Another slide stated, "We have strong reasons to suspect so." Now, think about this for a minute. This is an agency of the federal government that is supposed to be reducing alcoholism and alcohol abuse and addiction, and instead, it's pitching alcohol companies on funding a study to show that daily drinking is a great idea. One NIH official told the New York Times that her job was to follow up on these meetings with requests for money, and she was told that she should tell the alcohol companies that the study wouldn't be done unless they put up the money for it. Alcohol industry executives were given the opportunity to review the study design, and wait till you see what they came up with. They were also allowed to vet the researchers. The companies were told that they could choose which beverages to include in the study, and they were also told that the study design would prevent any form of alcohol as seeming to be better than any other. So there would be nothing saying it's better to drink wine than beer and that sort of thing. The scientist, again I use that term so loosely here, who led the pitch meetings is named Dr. Kenneth Mukamal, and he was chosen to be the lead researcher. He told the Times that he had no contact with anyone in the alcohol industry in the planning of the study, that the description of the trial that he gave during his presentations was boilerplate. He also said that his job was not to raise money and that the slides did not convey the complexity of the presentation. Actually, I thought the slides that I read to you were really quite clear. The Times then followed up and contacted George Koob, the current director of the NIAAA, who got testy and raised his voice when he was asked questions about this issue, stating, "We do things right at the NIH." Well, my gosh, that settles it. All you have to do is make a statement like that. Former agency director Dr. Ken Warren tells a whole different story. He was involved in organizing some of the meetings, and he also attended them, and he says that the presentations were specifically designed to raise money. So apparently Dr. Malcolm has a little bit of an ethics problem there, and he just can't tell the truth. The new trial is called the Moderate Alcohol Cardiovascular Trial. It was eventually funded for $100 million, with most of the money contributed by 5 of the world's largest alcohol makers, the 5 who are in the top tier contributors. So there's just nothing like having the alcohol makers, the alcoholic beverage makers, put up money and give it to the NIH to research their product. It will include 7,800 adults at risk for heart disease. Half of them will be told by the NIH to consume 1 alcoholic drink per day, and the other half will be told to totally abstain. Now, as you might gather from some of the comments I've made, there are serious ethical concerns associated with telling study subjects to drink alcohol daily, particularly when the National Institutes of Health is issuing the instruction. There are clear links between even very low amounts of alcohol consumption and cancer. It currently accounts for 4% of new cancer cases each year, and between 3.2 and 3.7% of all cancer deaths in the United States. One analysis concluded that, quote, higher consumption increases risk, but there is no safe threshold for alcohol and cancer risk. Another study concluded that while higher levels of consumption increase the risk, an average of 1.5 drinks per day or less accounted for 30% of all alcohol-related cancer deaths. Additionally, some of these study subjects, and I just can't even believe this is going to happen, will invariably have health issues which make daily drinking a bad idea, like liver disease or kidney disease, a history of addiction, or a high risk of developing cancer. It seems that this study is in direct conflict with the agency's mission. The goal of the NIAAA is to prevent alcoholism, not to conduct research showing the benefits of having a drink every day. But it's highly likely that a benefit will be found. Our friend Dr. Mukamal, who has a lot of problems telling the truth, and his team have already published dozens of papers in medical journals showing that alcohol consumption leads to better health. And, you know, I'm sure that he's good at designing studies, just like he's managed to design a study that won't show that any particular form of alcohol is better than another and promise that the outcomes would be good. I'm sure the fix is in. I'm going to be reporting more on the relationship between donors to the foundation and NIH studies. I think I've just scratched the surface with this story. And my guess is that there are all kinds of other partnerships that have led to the NIH making some of the statements that it does publicly about medications and treatments and that sort of thing. I find this, I don't know about you, I find this despicable. And I'll tell you what I find the most despicable about it is that whenever questioned about these agencies seem to be very proud of their partnerships with industry. But you should start looking online for the information I dug up here. Not easy to find. For people who are so proud of these relationships, they sure do try to deny them when confronted, like our friend, the doc who's heading this research study, and make the information difficult to find online. They're sure not putting it on the front of their website, let's put it that way. So this is one of the reasons why I know that some people say, Pam, you're so cynical and you know, you sound like a conspiracy theorist and all that sort of thing. I don't think this is a conspiracy theory. This is really going on right now, this thing that I just talked to you about. And so this is why I think you should look at all health information that you get from any source, including some that you might think are quite credible, as suspect until proven otherwise. Think of everything you hear is wrong until you prove otherwise, and you will be hurt much less than if you assume what these people are telling you is the truth. All right, that's all for today, and actually all for the week. So please pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. I'll be back to you on Tuesday with more news.